Well, good morning. It's I think it's roughly 10 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, December, whatever it is, the 10th or the 11th. And as you can see, I'm motoring. It's a beautiful day. I'm motoring into about a 7 or 8 knot breeze. And the reason I'm motoring into this breeze, we've had a couple of days of strong winds, so I've been tucked up in a little anchorage called Gin Sur Mer, or Gin Sur Mer. And now I've come out and around to the north side of Grand Bahama, and I'm headed for sort of a halfway point between Grand Bahama and the Abacos, between West End and the Abacos anyway. It's called Sale Cay. It's 55 miles from where I started this morning, so I've got to push pretty hard, and the wind is, of course, right on the nose from where I'm trying to go. But a couple things. First thing is to get out onto this side of the bank, there's a really shallow passage called Indian Rock Cut, where the depths are between like 6 and, well, when I went through it was a couple, maybe 1 foot above low tide. So the depths I saw were between about 6 and 10 feet, which is pretty shallow. At low tide, I think it gets below 6 feet. So that was about an hour of slow and steady following the charts as carefully as I could. And in the end, it turned out to be an absolute non-issue. It was smooth. The other thing, I'm gonna turn the camera around and show you my new anchor. Right. So this right here is my old Bruce, my 33-pound Bruce, and I'm not calling it Bruce like a name, although I have named it Bruce Wayne. This shape of anchor is called a Bruce anchor. And now out here on the bow is my new to me, but used stainless steel Delta. Very nice and shiny. It weighs 38 pounds. It's a 35-pound class, but we had it weighed and it weighs 38 pounds. And so I've had to use a less good quality, but maybe less prone to fail anchor swivel. And then I've got my galvanized clevis, and that's double zip tied. And what I need to do now is, having learned, I need to make sure that I've got something to tie the anchor to the boat, not just the chain to the boat. So there's been good progress this morning, and also just wanted to show you what the water looks like. You know, I'm in 10 feet of water, and it looks like I could reach down and grab something out of there. All right, so it's just after noon on Wednesday the 10th, and we're making pretty good time. You can see behind me, I think, just right over my head is a little island called Mangrove Cay, and so when I turn, I'm just going to go another maybe half a mile. I'm in 12 feet of water here, about a quarter mile off Mangrove Cay, and then I'm going to turn 15 or 20 degrees to starboard or to right. I'm currently going about 55 degrees, so not quite due east. And I'm going to turn about 15 or 20 degrees to about due east. And then I've got 25 miles left to go to Sale Cay. But again, you know, absolutely stunning water. I've got I've got a fishing line out. I don't know if you can see that. Wrapped around the winch is a bungee cord, 85-pound braided test, and I'm dragging something behind called, like, I don't know, tuna killer or some aggressive thing like that. But so far, no bites. You can see the little clothesline clip there. That's how I know if I've got a hit on the line. It'll jump out of the clothesline clip and make a noise. So anyhow, beautiful day. Carry on. All right, it's 2:30 now on Wednesday. It is an absolute. It's turned into an absolutely. It has been all day actually. An absolutely spectacular day. You know, the water is more or less flat. I think I'm motoring into about, maybe it's as high as 7 knots of breeze. So, you know, like less than 1 foot of chop. It's hot, sunny, beautiful blue sky, just wispy clouds. However, you know, carrying on the theme of losing ship that's expensive, this is way less than the anchor, but you know, I pointed out earlier that I had my little fishing rig out. So I'm gonna go into a little bit more detail about this because I've lost another lure here. Okay, so what I'm fishing with is just called a hand line. So this is a plastic reel. This one has a 85-pound braided test on it, and on that test it's got a little swivel, and this is a pre-made leader, and I bought this in Florida, like in St. Augustine, from a guy who said, oh yeah, this is what you want. And even before I had bought this, I bought some stuff in Georgetown, and Harland, who's I think 14, and he's on Siren's Call. He's done a fair bit of research into this, and he said right away, you know, I'm concerned you're going to lose some lures. He's using 300-pound test, and he makes up his own leaders. And I thought, well, okay, but you're fishing for much bigger things than I am. And yes, I understand I don't get to choose what hits my lures, but nonetheless. So I went with the people from whom I'm buying stuff, which I got to learn not to do. So the first lure I lost was one of these, a Mahi Slayer. And it's a 2 lure. You can see the size of the hook there. I mean, this is not a jig for a small fish. It's 2 fish, or a two lure combo that's designed to trigger some sort of emotion or something in fish. So I lost one of those on one of my offshore passages. I lost another one called Tuna Buster today. And you can see this is what has happened, is that little hook, little snap hook on the end has just completely busted open. And that's the same thing that happened last time. So now what I've done, and I thought I had done a decent enough job with this bungee cord and hooks to a little knot, a little loop in there, so that maybe it wouldn't break, you know, maybe there'd be a little less immediate impact when the fish hit. But anyway, so I've gone up now to, this is 100-pound monofilament, and I've done my own crimp on the end of it, and I've used 100-pound swivel to one of those 100-pound hook, not hook, 100-pound snap, shackle, I don't know, whatever that's called. And then I've put on it something like this, a single hook, single lure. This one's called a Wahoo catcher. I can't remember what the other one's called, but I guess a couple of lessons are, number one, listen to the kid that's caught a half a dozen fish in the last, he's caught 3 fish in the last 2 days. And number two, every time, I think what I got to learn to do is every time I get any pressure on this line and it pops out of this little clip, I need to pull the line in and check and make sure my lure's still back there, because I had a couple of times where it just popped out but it seemed like there was enough tension on the line still that the lure was back there, but apparently not. So I got 2 hours left before my anchorage. Let's see if I can catch something without losing another lure. Stinking fish. All right, so baby steps. We caught something. About that big. Not sure what the little guy is, but he's toothy. All right, try again. Yes, I probably could have kept them as bait fish. Alright, so we're less than a mile from our anchorage, and so the first thing I need to do is I need to go forward and make sure the anchor is ready to be released. So I'm just going to run this camera while I go do that. We'll see what it looks like. First piece of really good news is the new delta is still there. Hardy har. And now it's been released enough that if I wanted to, and I may, as I find my anchorage, I've got a remote control switch back here in the cockpit. And if I want to lower the anchor from back here, I can, now that it's released preliminarily. Okay, so we're in about 9 feet, maybe 10 feet of water. Still lots. I'm comfortable all the way down to 8, probably. There's likely 2 feet of tide here. So I'm just trying to find a spot. I'm maybe a little bit too far to the west of the anchorage, safe anchorage for now. You can see up ahead the boat with the yellow hull that passed us. That's Norma Jean. I'm not sure the name of the giant power cat that's gone past him. Now he won't draw 3 feet or 4 feet, I wouldn't think, so he can get really deep up into this anchorage. We're not going to get that far, but we're going to get 2/3 or 3/4 of the way up to Norma Jean there. Okay, so the boat's in neutral. We're doing just about 3 miles an hour. We're probably 300 feet from Norma Jean, and we're just going to kind of pick a spot here, drop the anchor about 25 feet of chain. We're in still 10 feet of water. So we're just going to get that anchor onto the bottom with a little bit of chain, and then I'm going to go forward and we'll finish the job from there. So we've chosen our spot. The boat sort of drifts quietly to a stop. I let out a little bit of chain and then go forward and use the foot switches at the bow of the boat to manage laying chain down as the boat drifts downwind. Then I add a little anchor snubber to take the pressure off the windlass, and you can see the boat swing bow to the wind. And I just watch a little while longer to make sure everything's the way I want it. All right, so we're home for the night. Depth gauge is reading about 10 feet of water, and then there's almost 4 feet from the water line to where the anchor chain leaves the boat. So the general rule is you want to take those two numbers, 10 feet of water plus 4 feet of above the water line, and you multiply that by 3 if you're stopping for lunch. You multiply that by 5 if you're anchoring overnight in fairly calm weather, and you multiply that by 7 if you're anticipating a bit of a breeze. So we're anticipating some breeze. I've got almost 100 feet out. So 14 times 7 is 98. So I'm right in the right neighborhood. This is where I'll be for the next couple of days. Cheers.